Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. Mishnah Yomi is continuing for Dalid Tevet, and we are in the 13th parak of Shabbat at Mishnah Vav. Yesterday we started talking about trapping, about tzad, and we talked about chasing a deer into a bivar gadol, a large vivarium, that would be pater. I mean, it's not a good idea. It's kind of like tzad, but it's pater because you can't really access the deer right now. It can still run away, versus a small pen, a vivar kotan, according to Shimon Gamliel, would be chayev, and Martiner there said the halach is like him, and we're going to base Mishnah Vav, today's first Mishnah, off of that understanding. So tzvi shenichnas labayit, a deer wandered into the house. So the door was wide opened, and there was a delicious smell of cholent wafting from the table. So the deer decided to come on in and see what's cooking for Shabbos. So then what happened was the owner, or the whoever's inside, got up, V'nol echad b'fanav, and he shut the door. He locked the door to keep the tzvi in the house. Chayev. He has now done an act of trapping, according to the sages, according to Shimon Gamliel, according to everybody. He has done an act of trapping. Nolu shnayim. If two people shut the door at the same time, peturin. Now they're not supposed to do that, but this is similar to, this is called shnayim sh'asuhu peturin. Two people doing a malacha that only requires one person. They're patur. Remember, we talked about taking out a loaf of bread. Two people carrying one regular loaf of bread, they're not supposed to do that, but they're patur, because shnaim shasu. But if two people were carrying out a giant loaf of bread that you need two people to carry it, they're both chayev. The Mishnah continues, lo yachol echad linol. If the door was very heavy, it was like the rock on the well that Yaakov Avinu lifted up, and you need two people to carry this door. It's a big door, bulletproof door, whatever it is. But nalu shnaim, so two people lifted it up and closed the door to keep the tzvi in the house. Chayav, and they're both chayav, like the two guys carrying the giant loaf of bread. Rabbi Shimon poter. Rabbi Shimon again, l'shitaso, he's consistent, and he says they're poter because in any case where you have two people doing a malacha together, Rabbi Shimon is poter, but the halacha is not like him; it's like the sages. Great. So let's go on to Mishnah Zayin. Yashov ha'echad ol petach. So one guy sits in the doorway. Now what happened was the tzvi already came in. The tzvi smelled the cholent and the kugel, already came in, and they didn't have a door handy to close the door. So one guy chose to sit in the doorway to try to keep the tzvi inside. Velo milahu. And then this first case, he didn't fill up the doorway. So you can imagine the doorway is 6 feet wide, and this guy sitting in the edge of the doorway, he's blocking like 2 feet. So if the tzvi really felt like it, the tzvi could run out still. So we're going to see what happens. Yashav Asheni umilahu. Now another guy comes and sits down in the doorway. He sees the doorway. He sees it's like wide open, and he's like, uh-oh, this tzvi is going to run out. So he goes and sits next to the first guy, and now the two of them together are blocking the doorway. Hasheni chayev. So now the second person is chayev, because we can see what's happening here is when the first man sits down, he's not blocking the whole doorway. The tzvi can still escape. There's no tzeda. It's not really trapped. It's only when the second guy sits down that the tzvi really feels trapped and can't get out because there's two guys blocking the doorway. Now the Mishnah brings a variation on this case. Yoshav Arishon al petach umilahu. What if the first guy sits down and he spreads out his legs, or he's sitting in the middle of the doorway, he's blocking the whole doorway, the tzvi is trapped. Uvasheni v'yashav etzido. And now the second guy comes and sits next to the first guy. Afal pi she'amar Arishon v'chalach lo. Even though the first guy gets up and leaves, Harishon chayev, v'sheni pater. The first man who sat down and he's blocking the whole doorway, he is chayev for tzeda, for trapping the tzvi. And the sheni, the second guy who just sat next to him later, he's pater because the tzvi was already trapped. It was like as if the case was that someone had chased the tzvi into the bivar kotan, the small pen, the small enclosure, and it's already mamish trapped, so he would be chayev. Halam ezedame, what does this resemble? Lenoel et beito, someone who's locking the door to his house. L'shomro, just to guard his house. He's just trying to lock the door so people don't come in. Nimtzat tzvi shamar b'tocho, and he didn't realize there was already a tzvi there. The tzvi had already wandered in, and this guy just walked out the front door and locked the front door behind him, and he didn't know there was a tzvi there. He didn't care there was a tzvi there. He's definitely pater on seida, even though lemaisa, he's guarding the door. He's causing the door to be locked, but he hasn't actually done the tzeda. So that's what the second guy resembles. The first guy who sat blocking the whole doorway, he is chayev for tzeda. Shkoyach rabosai, sei gesund.